Strathfield is one of Sydney's most important railway stations. Being located at the junction of the main lines to the north and the west, nearly all trains going through the station stop there, and a lot of people use it to change between lines. The layout of the station and the junction to the west of it is interesting and slightly unusual, so in this video I'm going to explain how it all works. Strathfield Station has 8 platforms on 4 islands. Usually when you have this arrangement, you'd expect the platforms to alternate in direction, but this is not what happens here. Platforms 1 and 2 are both eastbound. Platform 3 is westbound, 4 and 5 are both eastbound, and from then on it alternates. Why is this? To see why, we need to look at the tracks east of the station. East of Strathfield is the 6-track main rail corridor to Redfern. This is operationally divided into 3 pairs of tracks. The southern pair, or local pair, is used by trains that stop at all or most stations between Strathfield and Redfern. The central pair, or suburban pair, is used by trains to or from the north and west, and trains here run express to Redfern, usually only stopping at Burwood along the way. The northern pair, or main pair, is mainly used by intercity and regional trains, and most trains here make no stops between Strathfield and Central. With this, we can see why Strathfield Station has some adjacent tracks that run in the same direction. The tracks at platforms 1 and 2 join together immediately east of the station, as do the tracks at platforms 4 and 5. There do exist some junctions further east that allow trains to switch between the local and suburban tracks, but these are almost never used. So that's what's east of the station. What's on the west side? This is where the Northern Line branches off the other lines to the west. The Northern Line has its own main and suburban track pairs, and these connect to the corresponding track pairs at Strathfield. To do this without conflict, a flyover exists to carry the north suburban pair in between the other suburban tracks. The westbound track on platform 6 splits after the station to allow trains to either continue west or head north. Eastbound trains enter the station on separate platforms instead, platform 5 for trains from the north and platform 4 for trains from the west, and these tracks then join east of the station. This neat arrangement means that trains on the suburban tracks never have to cross the paths of trains running in the opposite direction. Now let's look at what the main tracks do. Unlike the junction on the suburban tracks, this is a flat junction, which means that trains can get in the way of each other. The track at platform 3 splits to allow trains to go north or west, but the track to the north crosses the eastbound track from the west. There are also a number of crossover tracks to allow trains from either the north or west to access both platforms 1 and 2, and one bidirectional crossover that's almost never used. So with all that said, is this a good layout for Strathfield Station? Overall, it is an effective layout that allows for many different service patterns. The flat junction in the main tracks is not ideal, but there's really no way to grade separate it given the space constraints of the area, and these lines don't run at a high enough frequency for it to be much of a problem. One potential issue is that most express trains towards the city can depart from either platform 4 or 5, and as these are on separate islands, it requires passengers to check departure boards to know which platform to walk up to get the first train. It would theoretically be possible to solve this by realigning some tracks and flipping the direction of platform 5, so that all eastbound trains on the suburban lines would use platform 4, all suburban trains going to the northern line would use platform 5, and all suburban trains going west would use platform 6. However, this would also have a big disadvantage in that it would remove the cross-platform transfer that currently exists between platforms 5 and 6, where people coming from the northern line can easily change trains to continue west. This matters because despite being such an important place to change trains, Strathfield is really not built ideally for this. There's only one concourse below the station, and it's cramped and only barely wide enough for all the people walking through it every day. Access to the platforms is provided via ramps on both sides of the concourse that take some time to walk up, during which you can miss your train if you're in a rush. Fixing that though would require completely rebuilding the station, and given its importance, something like that isn't going to happen anytime soon. Thanks for watching.